We are going to move on to the second part of our podcast, which is we call them a speed round questions, but they're not really speedy. You can answer them any way you'd like. And they're just so that our listeners, our audience gets to know you as a person in addition to being a writer. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Question number one is, how do you pick your next read? Do you follow a recommendation or do you judge a book by its cover?
Sometimes the cover attracts me. I could easily say all of the above. I often, browse in the bookstore. Um, and then I have the reads that I call my assigned readings, which isn't negative, but like now when I mentioned I'm reading voraciously through mysteries, that's not the only genre I read, but I'm focusing on them because Malice Domestic is coming up.
Yes, that'll be nice. Actually.
However, I should say I usually get in the book, and at the beginning I was telling you about Mrs. Polifax and how that I'm drawn in, and it doesn't have to be something dramatic that happens at first. Sometimes it's just an incredibly beautiful bit
Mm.
of writing, but if I feel like I'm going to be drawn in, or sometimes I am kind of, and I think, well, this is worth getting a little further.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I love the once you find an author that you like, you just want to read the entire, which just keeps adding to your to be
To
read
be
list.
honest.
So that's great. Number two is, which mythical creature would you like to be real? So unicorns, dragons, fairies.
I love the idea of the fairies. And
Me
I like the fairies because when I was a little girl growing up, the fairies always brought me a present on my birthday and put it under my pillow.
That's a great tradition. I love
Mhm.
that.
My mother was so imaginative, and
Oh,
I'm sure that must have come from her. It might have come from her grandparent, but from my earliest memory of birthdays. And, it's kind of sad when the fairies decide maybe you don't need them
cool.
anymore.
I know,
Yeah.
definitely. But I like fairies too. And they've got their mischievous side too. So
Mhm.
they're good. I like it. Number three is, if you could instantly speak a new language, which one would you choose?
I think I would choose Chinese. And
That's
the reason I would choose Chinese is that I studied Chinese because I was going to be a visiting professor at Nanjing Normal University, and I wanted to have a little Chinese. So I studied conversational Chinese for a year with a tutor while I was still in New York at the college. And I felt like I was beginning to be, slow, but beginning to be able to speak it. But then when I got to Nanjing, where they spoke Nanjing Hua,
oh
the
no.
dialect, and at that time they weren't as used to people like me. Um, and I would be standing, asking for a potato, pointing to the potato and saying potato, and they didn't know what I meant.
Oh,
So, and I ended
yeah.
up being able to be a part of language school there and actually formally study it with basically young people from all over the world, because the Chinese, as a part of their agreement with UNICEF, provide education to kids from third world countries. It's such a challenging language that if I could just speak it instantly and get all
I
those
know, it'd be lovely.
right, so I don't call somebody's mother a horse.
Ma. Yeah.
Definitely. That would be good. Number four is, do you have a favorite holiday or time of year?
Yeah, I love them all. Uh, I think I enjoy fall. If
Mm.
there's My grandmother once said, when it starts, the air starts to get crisp, I feel like I should be going back to school.
Mm.
There's something about, the beauty of the leaves and the sort of the completion of a cycle,
Yeah.
and, crunching the leaves and all of that, that I really love the fall, but that's a tough choice.
I know all of them are really good, but I agree with you. Seeing the beautiful leaves on the trees, there's nothing like it.
I agree.
If you could be a fly on the wall for one day, where would you go?
I think I'd want to just stay away from world leaders and great discussions. And maybe what I would like, if I had the ability to understand it, I would love to be a fly on the wall in a village school somewhere I've never been, in a country I've not visited, and listen to what school kids are saying.
Mm,
That's
that'd be
such a
fun.
professor, classroom educator thing to say. I absolutely love that. I
Mm.
love that. And you would probably learn so much more than me sitting in the Marvel Studios office to figure out which film is going on.
Although let's face it, that would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Number 6 is, what is your favorite snack while you're writing?
Whatever I can get.
Mm.
I do drink a lot of tea.
That's beautiful. I love that. So many
Mhm.
good ones.
I usually make a pot of tea right after I get up, and I drink tea. And but I guess one of my favorite that I in the afternoon is like a little handful of some kind of nut like almonds, and I love the squares of dark chocolate made
Mm.
cacao and not cocoa. So a couple of those squares and a few cashews or a few walnuts. Yeah, that's my favorite.
That sounds delicious. Delicious.
Mhm.
Number 7 is a fill in the blank. My favorite thing about Maryland is.
It's so representative of the whole country. They say in Maryland, and I'm not native to Maryland, but they say in Maryland that, if you don't like the weather, it will change. If you drive across Maryland, you'll have driven across the United States. And there's a sense in which that's true. There are mountains, they're not as dramatic, as let's say the Rockies, but yeah, we have a lot that is representative of the whole country, and I like that.
Mm.
But
I
I
like
have
that
to add a
answer.
Maryland is beautiful.
caveat. I do like the early um, Western history
Mhm.
related to Maryland, and I don't know enough about the period during the colonial period in Maryland,
Your
but it
next book series. I'm interested. I'm interested. Number 8 is, if you could jump inside a book, which one would it be?
it would have to be The Hobbit.
Ah!
They are so keen. I started reading that in the 60s. I absolutely loved it. I ended up telling it as a story in bits to a kindergarten class I was teaching. They made the most incredible pictures. I mean, I'd love to have kept them, but they were too precious. They had to go home. I mean, of smog, it was wonderful. And then, of course, The Lord of the Rings. And I loved it so much that when my granddaughter was in preschool and I did a lot of childcare for her, we always had school stuff going on. And, we did all the characters. She wrote little books that she dictated and she learned to read. And they had dragons and hobbits
I love
and
it.
elves.
I
Oh my
would die to
gosh.
live in a hobbit house. I would
I know.
love it, love it, love
I
it.
want Bilbo's. I don't want the Saxville Bagginses. Oh, Ellen,
Just
no. Mm-mm.
no, just their pantry alone was enough for me
Ooh,
to want to
yeah.
live there. Absolutely. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you enjoy a plate of sushi?
-1. And the reason for that, there's some forms of sushi I would like, but I am very allergic to shellfish of any
Oh,
kind.
yeah. So
And so
that would be
that,
good.
that absolutely puts most sushi out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And the last one is, do you talk to yourself when you're alone?
Well, otherwise, how are you going to have any intelligent conversations?
There you go.
Of course I do.
Thank you so much for answering those questions.
Oh my gosh, that was funny.
Well, they were fun.